Who here today dreams of being Wales or Britain's next big social media sensation? Perhaps Welsh Mark Zuckerberg. Well, our next speaker this morning has achieved exactly that goal. Would you please give a huge welcome to Gianni O'Connor.
Right, thank you very much for that. Mark Zuckerberg, that's very interesting. Hello all. So essentially I was asked to kind of have a chat about starting a social network or my experiences or something sort of in between. And hopefully this helps answer some questions that people have, makes things seem a bit closer, a bit more easier to be done. So this is Mozart essentially. And literally it's a social network for music, and I thought I'd just talk about how I created it and what I wish I'd been taught at school that probably would have hopefully made me get here a bit quicker. So running through it briefly, this is what it is. It's uber chic, which is literally PR's way of saying cool, music social app. You can follow your friends because we like following our friends. That's always what people like. Their activity and their likes, and it's basically about just being able to see what your friends are interested in, what kind of music, each other, what you like, and so on. Because I found that I'd hear a song on the radio, and then I'd ring my friends and be like, "Oh, have you heard that song?" But that's really quite backwards. So when I listen to a song, my friends should already know I've listened to it. They should be recommended it, and so forth. So you can share your music world, is what we call it. So your voice, because I think voice notes are just really cool. They're going to take off. Your mood, your photos, everything. And it's totally free, because I don't think people should have to pay for music. If you love it, it should be free, and you should work out a model that somehow makes it free. Next, discover and explore. So we've built this smart brain, and what this does is this says what kind of music you're into. So you, chap, what's your favourite artist? Anything, go on, give me something. Okay, well, let's give the assumption that he had a favourite artist. And what we would then do is we would say, okay, give us another one, which probably would take a couple of minutes, but once we got two, we would start to match them, and we'd look at why you like both artists. So whether that be because they're both dance, or whether that be because they're both from the 60s, or whatever it is, and we'd learn why you like it. And once we know that, we can start to match you and introduce you to other artists that we know you're going to like. So we'll actually answer the third and fourth one, so you'd be laughing. And once you get that, we recommend you music, and hopefully, if we can get you to love new music, we can get you to buy it, and that's really what it's about. So then, when you find a song you like, instantly share it, just tap your friends, and it sends straight to their phone, totally for free. So we think it's pretty awesome. So then kind of going to why I chose to start Mozart, and that really comes down to my view on technology. Different people make tech for different reasons, but mine is always problem solving. So I always start off with, this really annoys me, let me use the internet to fix that issue. So it kind of came down to these sort of 5 problems, which was music recommendation and how to find new music. And I used to trawl the internet endlessly, going on different websites to find a new song I liked, and I couldn't. And the radio, if anyone's listening to the radio, you're driving in the car, I think they've got about 20 songs that they play continuously all day, which really just drove me absolutely mad. Some would argue are still mourning the death of MySpace, which I thought was awesome, but it's no longer around, so clearly my views are wrong. YouTube is great, it's got everything, but if you've ever tried to search YouTube for something you like, it takes ages because there's billions of videos on there and you can't find anything. And we wanted to be able to introduce new music to the world's listeners, so that was a big game. Right, so then I was going to talk about how did we start, and I thought this would actually take ages to explain, so I thought it's easier explained in pictures. So excuse the bad photography, but here we go. Now This would be our first office, which doesn't look like it is now. Yes, that is a burger and chips. So what we did is we spent all the money we had and bought food. Those tables we actually found outside our uni house. They were just on the street, so we thought we'd take them in. But it was great. So this is where we started, essentially. It was really, really basic, and it was just 2 chaps, 2 computers, trying to build something we thought was awesome. Didn't know anything about music licensing and got sued instantly. That resulted that this was all the actual food we had for 2 months. And we thought, okay, first mistake everyone should learn, get funding before you start, or write some form of plan. Otherwise, this is what your fridge will look like at university, which isn't fun. So this chap, formerly known as Peter Swin, is actually our head of marketing. At this point in life, he was referred to as Joe, ironically. And this is essentially what we looked like for about 3 months trying to build this, because we didn't plan it properly. And this is kind of one of the things I'm here to say today. When you have an idea, it's always great to just run off and do things, but we didn't plan. We were in university, you had things you had to pay for, and we didn't actually sit down and say, this is what we need. this is what we need to get, and this is how we're going to build it. And this is the first mistake I made, and I hope no one else makes this, is plan what you want to do and try and work out how you're going to afford that and how you're going to balance everything. I was always one of those people that came up with an idea and just ran with it, honestly, without thinking it through. So think it through. Take a minute. Actually, this is us trying to match music by chords. So if any of you guys are into music, we used to find the chords in the song and try and match it like that. And that's great when you've got 10 songs in the system, but when you've got 100,000, it starts to become impossible. So we thought we need some more help. So this is a selfie we took in a studio that, in this here, we wrote an algorithm that would actually search music itself. And this algorithm would look through the music, work out the chords, and it will basically recommend you amazing music all day, or so we hope. So kind of going back to what I knew before I started, because there's a big thing that everybody who does tech knows so much about it, and that's why it seems really alien for someone who doesn't have a lot of knowledge. And so I knew a bit about web design, just from what I'd read online. I understood the issues that we had in the market, which is quite simply just that, people didn't have a way to discover new music easily. So that's what I understood. I was a huge music fan, and as every music fan thinks, my knowledge was just infinite and I knew everything, which, again, another mistake. Don't assume you know everything, because you don't. And I knew the internet could be used to connect me with the world and potential users. And the most important one, I think, is the last one, which was, sorry, chaps. I knew the internet was the best resource for creativity and innovation. And I say that because when you have an idea, it's very difficult in a lot of fields to go out. I can have an idea to create a new train tomorrow, and it's going to be the most amazing train ever. But I can't go out and build it. Whereas the internet was one of those things where you could have the idea, open up your laptop, and go and do that thing. So moving on. What I knew from school, this is where my problems really start. I knew how to use Microsoft Office and how to find yourself very confused with Dreamweaver. And I think that's the big issue, because ICT at school for me was how to use Excel, how to use PowerPoint, and that was it. And it was so concerned with teaching me about what a computer is and what's already on it. Whereas what I think it should have taught me is what I could do with a computer, which I think is more important. So in the future, I think we need a stronger focus on creativity and innovation within schools. And that's just explaining to people that the computer is like a pen. It's just a tool to be Mozart, to be J.K. Rowling, to be whoever you want to be. It's not about what the pen actually does right now. It's what you could do with the pen, I think, is more important. And the encouragement to create platforms and not just products. And I say that to people who don't understand. A product is something that can just be used now, and it has one function. Whereas a platform, once I build it, it'd be like the App Store. The App Store is a platform where other ideas can be built on top of that. And I think that's important. A stronger enforcement that ICT is not about programming, guys. I spent 2 years building this thing, and it had 100,000 users, and I couldn't write a line of code. It's not about that, because there's always someone else to help you. That's why one of the guys was saying earlier about having a team. It's about finding your strengths, finding someone else's strengths, and bringing them together to build something that's hopefully amazing. And last way is more ways to fund young entrepreneurs outside of California. And this is a big thing I was reading in the research, is that people are too stuck with thinking things can only happen in one area, whether that be California, whether that be London, but it can happen anywhere, Wales being no different. The internet is everywhere, and from you have the internet, you could be the next Mark Zuckerberg, you could build Facebook. So I think just don't worry about where you're from. If you've got a great idea, go ahead with it, and I hope that someone in here is the next big thing. Thanks, guys. Right.